Law, a series of podcasts focused on insights and learning pertaining to the implementation and use of AI in legal practice, with hosts Ian Hull and Suzana Popovic-Montag from Hull and Hull LLP, brought to you by CoCounsel.ai.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of A Better Place to Be, AI in the Law. It's Ian Hull and with my co-host, Suzana Popovic-Montag. We're into another edition of our podcast. Exciting to continue this along and to continue to think through and talk about AI in the law, a crucial part of our practice, and one that, it's funny, we were at a conference recently and we sat around the table with about 50 lawyers who the year before, when we talked about AI, we looked like mutants. And now it's sort of like, this is what I'm doing and not doing. So it's there. We're going to talk a little bit about what's there and why it's there. But Suzana and I have been really thinking a lot about this. One of the fun stats that I pulled, and I love to sort of listen to other podcasts, and one of them was telling me was in 2022, AI couldn't do basic arithmetic reliably. It would confidently tell you answers in basic times tables wrongly. By 2023, it could pass the bar exam. By 2024, it could write working software and explain graduate level science. By 2025, some of the best engineers in the world would say that they've given up coding. So, wow, it's been a fun ride and a wild ride. So let's continue to talk about that and talk about the wild ride that we're enjoying.
That's for sure. And the conference that Ian was mentioning, there were lawyers from all across Canada, and every single one of them has been dipping their toe, and some actually just diving into AI. So it's true. It's not going away. It's not a fad. It's not a phase. It's just a matter of really learning how to use it best and incorporating it into our respective practices. And,
one of the world's famous podcasters, Tim Ferriss, was interviewing one of his recent interviews was really interesting. And it was talking about a bit more, it wasn't AI focused, but one of the speaker was talking about what AI did was it shifted things from selling tools to selling work product or selling units of work products. We went from sort of software and SaaS, and we talked a lot about SaaS for the last 5 years, into a world where we're really selling work hours or labor hours, or really whatever you want to call it, but we're selling human labor equivalents in law, and that's sort of a neat way of looking at things. But what we thought we'd do start off today was just talk a little bit about some of the current sort of buzz about AI and a buzz about what technology and the role of technology with lawyers. And the STEP journal, Society of Trust and Estate Planners, come out with a monthly journal. And they just in 2026 recently came out with what is called the STEP Barometer. And it's a sort of a part of the journal, monthly journal, is that talks about global trends and family wealth and succession planning. And there was a whole section on AI and talked about the tentative steps that both advisors, lawyers, accountants are taking towards AI. We were asked, one of the surveys were sent around, and they were asked where AI could be most usefully used. And again, this is to assist professionals. The top three areas were 54% said document drafting and review, 52% said administrative and back office processing, and 51% said research and due diligence. So I thought that was kind of cool. Those three components of AI are really what our practice is seeing most of, and what we're doing mostly in terms of using the tools.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that was just sort of a starting point. The other part that I thought that was kind of helpful was just sort of looking at the risks that are associated with AI, and the fact that we hear about obviously doom and gloom, the world's going to end with AI, but more importantly for professionals is that risks are escalating. They're not de-escalating. And so we're just being more and more mindful of the governance of AI. The last part of it really I thought was the best, not best, but most interesting for lawyers is that, let's talk about this constant noise that we hear about AI and taking away our jobs. And the survey really drilled down on that.
Yeah, that seems to be, that and hallucinations, the two biggest concerns people have with AI. And it is surprising because the more you use AI, the more you realize how it cannot replace us as lawyers. And I think that's going to take a lot of time for people to get comfortable with that. I mean, it reduces and it adds to efficiencies, but that's not the lawyering kind of stuff that we're worried about losing. That judgment, that was, knowing the law is going to be our role. And we can use AI to supplement that, but it's not going to replace that.
So the three things that came out of the survey really was this: the human interaction cannot be delegated. The final checking of legal advice for its accuracy is a critical human step. AI is a words in, words out machine learning tool, and so which I think is actually a little oversimplifying it, but that's another element of where we need the human interaction. And then thirdly, I really thought it was neat was the body language and the cues that come from that an advisor can pick up on and also can give to their clients when they're interacting. So it's the connection, and so we really this barometer by STEP was really helpful because it developed real data from what we kind of keep thinking about and talking about, and it's so a lot of what we're saying isn't anecdotal. It's supported by some deep research and deep surveys, and STEP is an incredible organization that really does pride itself in meaningful surveying of its many thousands of members and asking helpful questions for us as advisors and as lawyers to really work within the framework of this changing bullet train of society.
Yeah, and the great thing about STEP is, of course, it's across a bunch of different professions, and we all are going to be using it somewhat differently. But when we work with allied professionals, it's nice to know that we're doing the best job that we can for our clients, and AI, of course, is part of that. Now, another great report that we came across was the Thomson Reuters report. And that one actually indicated that 95% of legal professionals believe that generative AI is going to be central to their profession and to their firms within the next 5 years. But that at this point, only half have a policy of any sort in play. 2/3 have no training at all, notwithstanding the fact that they have some of these tools. And very few have cohesive and unified leadership and with their firms or their use of AI. And so it's really cool to sort of see that Thomson Reuters says it's not a technology gap, it's a leadership gap. And it's undermining, of course, the client's trust in the process, in the talent retention that firms face, and competitive positioning ultimately. And I think that that's something that is so true. And we've seen it, and heard about it from others as well. So that really is where we're starting from, or trying to improve from starting today.
Absolutely. And I do think it's been fun watching the trends, but the point, we're going to talk a little bit after our next segment here about blind spots that are holding firms back. But let's pause. What we're going to try to do in each of our podcasts is give a tangible use case for AI. And for purposes of today, we're going to call on Doug Higgins from CoCounsel AI, and I am going to let Suzana fill the gap here as I work on inviting him into the podcast. And maybe you can introduce a little bit about what Doug's going to talk to us about while I'm doing that.
Yes, so we had Doug on a previous podcast, and he's going to illustrate, hands-on demonstration of how we, at least in our firm, have used AI and how others can as well.
And a big part of this is really to talk about AI in the context of tangibly identifying what and how we can use it on a day-to-day basis, because it's so easy to talk about the importance of AI and some of the bells and whistles that it can high level bring to our practice. But what it doesn't do is it really doesn't give me as a lawyer, and we're trained to question and wonder really what the veracity of everything that's being put to us is. And so when we say, hey, these tools are remarkable, let's talk about what they actually might be remarkable. And so we're going to have Doug in a moment come on and talk to us a little bit about that. And as I say, we're going to try to do this on a regular basis, where we're showing an easy illustration, quick identifier of what would be a tangible illustration of the tools. And we're going to try to show people how it's best used. I obviously had some trouble with the technology, but did you send them the link?
Trying to get him.
Oh, great. Here we are. Awesome. So here's Doug Higgins joining us. So thank you for saving the day. And we've got Doug coming in now. Hi, welcome, Doug.
Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Ian and Suzana.
So, Doug, we're looking to you just to give us a live stream illustration of a tangible tool, as we're going to try to do at all of our sessions.
Of course. Okay, so what I'm going to be showing you here, and I'm just going to share my screen. One of the things that across the litigation spectrum that people run into that I know is somewhat of a challenge is these transcripts we get back after our examination for discovery. And, the reality is, if you are sitting through one of these examinations, these transcripts can come out at the end of the day. They can be hundreds of pages long. If we're sitting through 8 hours of somebody speaking, the records can be enormous, and figuring out, how do we distill the core information out of this? Particularly when we're looking at things like, I want to find the undertakings, I want to find the questions that were refused, to make sure all those bases are covered after that examination process. So one of the things that we've been able to do through the AI tool that Hull uses called CoCounsel is we've built in just kind of a standardized process for getting into these transcripts and pulling that information out. So you can see here, these are all just the different prompts that Hull has saved, all the different instructions for AI to get things done. We'd search this down to the examination.
So sorry, Doug, because not everyone's going to be able to visually see this. What we've done is we have some core prompts that are set up in CoCounsel. And one of them is a transcript examination answers and analysis. And that's a prompt that has been engineered with specific prompts built within it to do this task.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I forgot the number of people who are listening to this just on the audio version. So we have a tool that will take an examination transcript. And what we do is we select that file. And so what I would do here is I would go ahead and pick that exact transcript file out, and I would upload that onto CoCounsel. The rest of this is kind of pre-filled in. We can think of it almost kind of as like a legal Mad Lib. We give the file, I type in the name of the person being examined. The rest of this we've already kind of set in advance. So this is something that we can use time and time again. And the prompt is very detailed. It's going to be pulling all of the different refusals, the objections, things that are taken under advisement, undertakings that are going to be produced at a later date. And because this prompt is a little bit more sophisticated, we get to set up how the information is presented at the end. We also just get to set, which do we want to focus on, who is being examined, if we want to pick out specific information. So once it's been run through, the prompt really just says, I want you to go through and pick out those key pieces. And in particular, the one that a lot of the lawyers are interested in are the refusals. We get a walkthrough of this from top to bottom, the whole transcript. And I'm just going to scroll down for those that do have a visual element to this. What we get at the end here is a really nice chart that sets out all this information. And just for the lawyers who are looking to get through this information a little bit more quickly, particularly for people who are there at the examination, this is just kind of a second set of information that allows us to navigate this more quickly. But also, Ian and Suzana, I think one of the things that's important is people will go and still read these transcripts. But I think it allows us to go and read that more actively and have something that's kind of a second set of eyes that in the background is checking this to make sure that we haven't missed anything ourselves.
Doug, then also we can export that information and turn it into a reporting letter, a letter to the other side. You've got all of those sort of subsequent steps that you can take with it. But boy, from a sorting standpoint, it's incredible. Thanks so much, Doug. Is there anything else you want to just show us on the transcript piece?
No, on that piece, I think that's it. It really is, as you've said, it's just a really quick way of getting through this and making it actionable for the client.
Awesome. Well, Doug, thank you for joining us today, and we appreciate our use case moment. And we'll pick on you from time to time to walk these through so that we can demonstrate to our audience that this is real and it's actually quite tangible in our practice. So thanks again for taking the time to step into our podcast.
Thank you both, Ian and Suzana. Have a great day.
Okay, so moving on then, we were talking about the Thomson Reuters report, and this is an early report. It's a report that came out in early 2026, so we have to be sensitive to the fact that time flies with this, as we said at the outset, with AI, and things will develop. But some of the findings that came out of this report are still tried and true today, 6 months later almost. So let's talk about some of the blind spots that Thomson Reuters report talks about that are holding firms back.
Well, the first one, of course, is that people are treating AI as simply a project and not as a strategic shift. And I know you always mention and talk about, change leadership, right? And change management. And that's really the key here. It's like, this isn't just another shiny little tool that's in your tool belt. You use it once and then you put it away. It really is changing the mindset of how we practice law. And AI is not just a product. It's the way that we're going to be running our practices in the future.
The second blind spot they talk about is one that we certainly struggle with as well. And as what we consider ourselves thought leaders in the area of AI and the law, we struggle with all of these blind spots. So it's a problem for all of us. The idea of it being change management and what tools you employ to adapt and work with what is really just a change management program that you have to deal with, because the tools are there. Now we have to figure out how we get people to do it. There's the second part of it, the program, the report talks about, and that is that we have to be careful not to ignore the cultural change. The idea that AI needs to be a habit, not a ongoing tool, and when it becomes a habit, it becomes a much more effective tool in the day-to-day practice. One of the greatest barriers is not the technical piece, because the truth is the tool is every day becoming much more user-friendly to use on a day-to-day basis. It's getting your head around doing it and getting your head around taking away this traditional expertise of process that even young lawyers learn in law school and develop early in their careers. It's a culture shift as well as a change management shift.
And the third thing that the report mentions is that many firms are missing the business case benefit to AI beyond just the legal work that it's assisting us with. And I certainly know in our firm, we've seen the advantages of that, where we're able to incorporate the use of AI into things like business development, into our marketing, into internal financial reporting, and HR even uses AI. And throughout our operations and our knowledge management systems, we're trying to find ways to incorporate it because it simply makes it better.
So let's get tangible about what we're doing there, because this idea, first of all, AI, the return on investment in AI is I think it's a bit of in 2026, sort of a silly question to ask. You're not going to get immediate return on investment. That's just the reality. You're probably, hopefully, going to be flat in the sense that if you're expending time, resources, and money, because the tools cost money, if you're spending that money in those expenses, our experience is the immediate return on your investment is that you're probably recouping that expense fairly quickly. We're not getting to the point where we're saying, oh my God, our efficiencies are so amazing that we're able to demonstrate tremendous tangible return on the investment. I look at it as sort of flat line. And I think part of that, and Legal Week is a massive event that happens every year in New York City. We're going to try to get down to it next year, actually, because it's just grown so much and it's so tangible to the AI community. But some of the speakers that I've spoken to who are down there, they're talking about 2026 as being a year of assessing the costs, meaningfully looking at the costs of your AI tools and benchmarking it against your success to at least come in flat as to the savings. So that was one of the themes that was developed there. But we're also looking at it internally. We're saying, okay, look, we can drop in the last 5 years of our financials or our general ledger for the year and start asking really interesting questions to see what trends exist and don't exist. Kind of questions that we wouldn't want to spend time on our accountant to ask. And quite frankly, you can play around with it. And if you've got an enterprise tool, it's all safe. You're not sending all your data into the internet, and you're getting yourself into a situation where your own operations can be deeply researched for your own internal purposes. HR, we've talked about it before. Lattice is a tool that we use, and it's got some great AI tools built within it. But Slack and those sort of tools as well. So that idea of the barrier to entry, I think the rethink in 2026 is don't look to put money in your pocket with AI immediately. Look to investing it and hopefully recouping it in 2026.
Yeah, and that investment, Ian, is crucial because it has to be a closed system. Otherwise, all of this falls apart from the legal profession in terms of privilege and confidentiality. And so we know they've coined a term called shadow AI, that people, if they don't have systems that are being offered or insisted upon by their companies, are just going to go and use the free versions. And everyone knows how efficient it can be. So the last thing we want to do is to be pushing them to use ChatGPT to do these kinds of things that we could otherwise keep within a closed system and do it properly.
Okay, so another blind spot, Suzana, is confusing risk management with avoidance. And boy, do lawyers do that well. We always look for the problem as opposed to the solution. That's what we're trained to do. It's not a criticism of lawyers. It's just a reality, and that's fine. I mean, we all should be. We're not going to change our stripes, so to speak. But the idea that the risks that are associated with AI. In our next podcast, we're going to talk about tangible risks that we have identified that we're actually incorporating into our retainer agreement and our engagement with clients. But the risks are there and they're real. So we can identify those risks, but it can't be the solution that you're going to avoid AI as a consequence of the risks. And that's where really, and as I say, our next podcast, we want to talk a little bit about some of the tangible risks we're seeing out there and how we're managing those risks. What's another blind spot?
Just fessing up to the clients that we are using AI. I think avoiding that AI conversation with clients is to anyone's detriment because clients are coming to us with their, AI results of whatever it is that they've looked at. And so we might as well just face the music on that and be transparent because it's our future. And as you say, we'll talk about our, the changes we made to our retainer agreements, our reporting letters, and things like that in order to make that front and center with our clients so that they know that this is the kind of firm and this is the kind of practices that we have.
Another blind spot is waiting for certainty. The idea that we have to have complete certainty, and it ties to the risk management. The problem with these tools are that they're changing literally weekly, if not daily. And when you buy a closed system, or like we happen to be using Copilot and CoCounsel regularly, well, we're on all sorts of chat groups. We're on all sorts of email chains, Substacks, following what's new and what's developing within those. And it's not every day, but it is almost weekly where we go, oh, cool, this is what we're doing now. We can do this. And we've really had, the benefit of our team and Doug at CoCounsel AI, Doug Higgins is able to say, sort of alert us and say, look, now we can do this. And part of the way we're managing that is we're not looking for certainty. We're looking for safety.
That's right.
All right. So, Suzana, why don't we talk about what else the Thomson Reuters team sort of said in their report to do to the leadership team stepping in?
Well, basically, one of the first things we have to work on and start with is people and the culture that you mentioned at the beginning. Everyone has to sort of buy into this, and it has to be brought in a way where they feel safe, in the sense that they're not being replaced, whether it's on the admin side, on the legal side, on the IT side. We have to make sure that people realize that that's not the goal of this. And I think that's, having that transparency and having those kinds of discussions with individuals will hopefully avoid any concerns about people turning to shadow AI and doing things in a more unsafe or very unsafe fashion.
All right. Well, look, we're going to really drill down on what leadership teams need to do to embrace change management internally, and some of the things we're doing, and some of the things other professionals are doing, especially law firms, in an upcoming podcast. And then, as I say, we're going to also talk about the risks and what are the risks, what are the steps we're taking to manage those risks. So we've got lots to talk about upcoming, and looking forward to those discussions. So, and of course, we're going to always work up a use case, a fresh use case on our podcast, so that you can understand tangibly what these tools can do, and maybe start to do your own experimenting on your own time and your own tools to really develop a passion for the AI tools. All right. Well, look, I think today we've covered a lot, and we've had some great dialogue about some of these developments. And I know we've got lots more to talk about and lots more to cover.
That's for sure. Well, thank you very much, Ian. And thanks to all of you for listening and watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks a lot, Suzanne.
You have been listening to A Better Place to Be, AI and the Law, with hosts Ian Hull and Suzana Popovic-Montag from Hull and Hull LLP. Brought to you by CoCounsel.ai. If you have any questions or comments, please email our office at info@cnsl.ai. Thank you.